Hello everyone, in this video we'll see practical number 6, that is configuring a zone-based policy firewall. So ZPF is the actually latest development in the given by Cisco technologies. In this we'll see how to configure a basic ZPF on the edge router R3 that will allow internal host access to external resources and also block external hosts from accessing the internal resources. So before we begin with the practical, let's see and let's complete the configuration part. Let's set up the topology. Okay, so we need 3 routers here. Let's do it quickly. So 3 routers are here. Okay, let me change the display name and also the host name of it. Like this is R1 display name and the same host name is R1. Same goes for this router. Config mode display R2 close. This will be R3. Okay, now we also want to have a serial connection in between the routers. So for that we have to go to the physical section, switch off the router, place this module, switch it on. Do this for all the 3 routers. Physical, switch off, place the module, switch it on. Okay, and we want 2 switches on left hand side and also one more on the right hand side. Here we want to have a end device PC here on the right hand side and server here. Let's give a proper name what they have asked for. Like this will be PCC and this server will be PC-A. Okay, let's build a connection. Let's choose the automatic one here in between switches and the server and the router, and on this side also, and specifically also we want to have a serial connection between these routers. Yeah, so I guess we are done with the connection. Now we have to set the network. So we have to set up the network. That is, I can say there are 4 networks here. Okay, so one is this between the router, second this router, between these 2 routers, third, and this area is 4. So let's set up the network here. We'll give the network address here 192.168.1.0. I'll just note it down so that for your reference you all should remember 192.168.1.0 will be the address here, and similarly we can have here 192.168.3.0 here. So 1 on this side, 3 on this side, and in between here we can have 10.1.1.0, and on this side we can have 10.2.2.0. okay, as they have asked for. So I've just defined the network addresses. Now we have to configure the devices with this IP addresses. So let's go to the router 1 R1, config the gigabit 00 Ethernet interface. The IP address is 192.168.1.1. copy this and let's switch it on. Go to server, go to desktop, IP configuration, default gateway will be 1.1, and this will become 2. Subnet mask, close. You can see the green light here. Similarly, let's do for this router 2 R3, go to config gigabit 00, IP address will be 192.168.3.1 this time. So just copy it, switch it on, go to PC, desktop, IP configuration. Okay, I will make the changes here 2, and the default gateway will be 3.1, like this is the router IP address, and then close this. So even this network is ready. Now between these two routers, R1 and R2, when I place the mouse, I'll get to know the interfaces like this 010 on both the side. So let's click on this router, go to 010. Okay, IP address 10.1.1.1. Subnet mask, I'll just make the subnet mask common here, 255.255.0, and switch it on. Close. Similarly to this router now, config serial 010, 10.1.1.1 is gone. Let's take 2, and the subnet mask will become 255.255.255.0. Switch it on, and you will be able to see the green light between this and the last network here. On the router 2, the other interface is serial 011, and the IP address it will get 10.2.2.1. okay, and the subnet mask, switch it on, close, and R3, and I have to check the serial interface number. It is 011 only. Okay, so go to R3 serial 011. Okay, so this will become 10.2.2.2 because 1 is gone, and the subnet mask will become 255.255.0, and switch it on, close. Okay, if you'll go through the practical, there is one more IP address we have to set, that's this loopback address. Okay, for the router R2. Okay, which will be consider while doing this practical. So one more IP address we have to set here. So before we do that, okay, we have to make the routing scheme enable here. So we will go for RIP routing scheme. So let's go to the R1. Okay, go to config tab, click on RIP, and tell the network the R1 is connected to. The R1 is actually connected to 192.168.1.0 and 10.1.1.0. So let's 192.168.1.0, add, and then 10.1.1.0. click on add, then close this. Similarly now for R2. Okay, host name actually get changed. Okay, you just have to pay attention carefully and then make the changes accordingly again and again. Okay, if it keeps on changing. So go to the RIP here, network address it is connected to, so it is connected to 10.1.1.0, add, 10.2.2.0, click on add, and one more network it is connected to which we want to enter as a loopback address for this router R2. Okay, we are supposed to do it on, I'll show you where to do it. Wait. Yes, okay, fine. So for setting up the loopback address, okay, we have to go to the CLI, and here we have to fire the command to set up the loopback address. And I'll tell you what is the loopback address, how to set the loopback address. So we are on the CLI now. CLI, we are into config mode. You just have to mention interface loopback 1. We are in the configuration interface mode now. We just have to mention the IP address. So we just have to mention IP and then address. You can say 192 192.168.2.1. Okay, just remember on the left hand side we have got 1.0, on the right hand side we have got 3.0. So basically we are setting up one more network here in between, which is R2 is connected to itself, which is considered as a loopback, and we are giving one of the interface the address as loopback address as like 192.168.2.1. okay, so the command is something like this: IP address, enter. It's an incomplete command. We also have to give the, if you actually enter question mark also, it will guide you. So it is asking me for the subnet mask, so let's type the subnet mask also: 255.255.255.255.0. it has been set. Exit. Okay, so one more network we have configured on the router R2. Okay, if you click on R2, if you place the mouse, you will come to know, you can see, so both the gigabit ethernet interface are down, but the serial interface are up. With the IP address you all can see 10.1.1.2 and 10.2.2.1, and one more loopback address have been added. You can see the fifth row of this table, like this 192.168.2.1. okay, so one more address we have added here, one more network we have added here. So let's go to the config, go to static, okay, sorry, RIP, and we have already added 10.1.1.0 and 10.2.2.0. one more address we have to add here, 192.168.2.0 in this case. Click on add. So the router is connected to at least 3 network here. Of course you can see 2 entries because they are combining both the IP address with this network mask. Will not discuss in detail why is it so, because the 10 belongs to class A address. In that case 255.0.0.0 becomes the network mask. So let it be. So we have just added both the address here to the R2, and one more address we have added, that is 192.168.2.0. now let's close this, go to R3, go to RIP, okay, and it is connected to 192.168.3.0. add, and then one more, that is 10.2.2.0, and then click on add, close it. Okay, so the routing has been done, okay, through RIP protocol. If you try to ping from this PCA to PCC, you will be able to see the reply. We'll just try from both the end. So let's go to PCA, go to command prompt, okay, type command ping. We are just testing the connectivity here first to the PCC, that this PCC lies on this particular network 3.0. 3.1 was given to the router, so 3.2 was PCC. So I'm on the server A, that is PCA. I'm trying to ping PCC 192.168.3.2. enter, and we'll wait for the reply. Okay, so we are getting the reply, that means connection is successful. We can try it from other end also, that is from PCC to PCA. Let's see, let's go to command prompt and ping the server, that is PCA 192.168.1.2. enter, and we are getting the reply. Before we actually begin with the practical, there is one more part we have to cover. Okay, we have to implement the SSH protocol on all the 3 routers. So whenever from any particular device, if somebody wants to try to configure the router, okay, so SSH protocol has to get implemented. That means the command, when it fires remotely from any particular terminal towards the router, it should remain encrypted. We want to make the connection secure. So for that, what we have to do, let's go to R1, and you have to, what I'll do for the R1, you have to do it for R2 and R3 also. Okay, so just have a look. So I'm on the R1 now. I'll change the host name first, again back to R1. I'll go to the CLI. Okay, I'll press enter. I'm in configuration mode, you all can see. So the first thing I'll do here, that is I'll set the IP domain name ccnasecurity.com. Okay, what we are doing with this practical here, we are making the prerequisites ready, because this what they have asked in the practical, Like all these things should be done in advance first. Then we will actually begin with the begin actually with the main practical, like this configuring the ACL. So we have to do this SSH setting on all the three routers. So what I'm doing here for the R1, you people have to do it for R1, R2 and R3. So in this video you will only see that I'm doing it for R1, but I'll also be doing the same step for R2 and R3. So after setting up the domain name, you have to enter username, set username. For router 1 I'm setting admin 1. For router 2 I'll type admin 2, so that I remember admin 1. Then I'll set the privilege that to 15, giving all the privilege. Password with the secret command, secret, and then I'll type the password as Cisco1, keeping it simple. So for R1 I'm keeping username as admin1 and the password is Cisco1. Similarly I'll do the same steps for R2 and R3, setting up the password and username as admin2 Cisco2, admin3 Cisco3 respectively. Let's click enter. After that you have to configure the line, virtual lines, virtual terminal lines, like this VTI. We need how many lines? We need 5 lines, 0 to 4. Now we are in configuration line mode. Login will be local, will be allowed on the router, and also the transport towards router by any protocol will be done through SSH. That's transport input SSH command. And let's exit from here. We are done with the configuration line in configuration of line mode. Now we are back in configuration mode. So now we have to generate the key, that this crypto key. Generate RSA. It will ask me how many bits. 1024 bits. Enter. And if you exit from configuration mode also, and if you try to check, even you can see here that SSH has been enabled. Even you can see the status of it, like you have to fire the command show IP SSH, and you will see that 1.99 version has been enabled. So carefully pay attention that you people have to fire this commands on R2 and R3 with different username and password. And now we are done with the configuration part. We'll begin with the actual practical. So after configuring SSH protocol on all the three routers, we also have to do one more thing on router number R2, or even you can do this for all the three routers. So just open the router, go to CLI mode, enable it, get yourself into configuration mode, and enable the password here. Enable password level number 15, giving all the privileges, and set the password Cisco1, or I'll just keep Cisco2 here just to remember, because for router R1 we have set SSH username and password was admin1 Cisco1, for router 2 admin2 Cisco2, and similar for R3 respectively. So I'm just setting the same password here. Okay, so enable password level 15 Cisco2, enter, and then exit, and then again exit. Okay, fine. Here I mistyped XX. Let's close this. Fine. So after doing the whole configuration, the very first thing we have to see and check, that is verify the basic network connectivity. So we'll try to ping from PCC to PCA to PCC, or PCC to PCA. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to PCA and go to command prompt, and I'll write ping command. the IP address of the PCC, which is on the right hand side, and you all can see the network address is 3.0. so 1 was given to the router, 2 was given to the PCC. So 192.168.3.2, enter, and we are getting reply that this destination host is unreachable because we have not set the routing scheme. So let's close this, go to router R1 and go to config, go to RIP section and add all the network to which router is connected. Let's do it for all the 3 routers here. So router R1 is connected to 192.168.1.0, add, and 10.1.1.0, add. Okay, close this, go to R2, go to config, go to RIP. It is connected to 10.1.1.0, add, and one more 10.2.2.0. Then last one for R3, go to config, go to RIP, 192.168.3.0, add, and 10.2.2.0, add. So now if you place the mouse on the routers, you will be able to see the connections up along with their network addresses. So let me now once again try to ping from PCA to PCC command prompt, and if I try to ping, let's see if we get the reply. So the very first thing before we start with the practical, we have to verify the connection. Now we are getting the reply here. Great. Now later on we have to try to connect R2. We can do that from PCA also. Let's connect the R2 because we have enabled the SSH service there, SSH protocol. So let me do the SSH login, SSH-L, and we can mention the username admin2 and mention the IP address of the router R2, which is 10.1.1.2, enter, and it is asking me the password. So I'll just enter the password, that is Cisco2, enter, and it is allowing me to access the router R2. So we are able to verify. Even we can do this from PCC. Let me try. Let's try to connect R2 from PCC. So SSH-L, username admin2, and the IP address 10.1, not 1, or even like you can connect to any of this interface, right? Router R2 is connected to this both interfaces. Here the IP address was 10.1.1.2. Here the IP address is 10.2.2.2. So let me try to ping it. So 10.2.2.2, enter, and it is asking me the password. I'll enter the password, and we are able to access router R2 from PC number C, PCC. Okay,
that's all guys from this video. If you really like this video, press like button and do subscribe to our channel. If any queries or suggestions, do comment below. For more such updates, follow us on Instagram and Facebook.